So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk about something, and this is really interesting for me, and I'll explain. So, there's this video that's going viral. It's got 15 million views of this Muslim radical communist in New York City who's running for mayor, who says that he wants to basically abolish billionaires, take all their money, tax white people more because they're white. And he wants to open basically bread lines. He wants to open government run grocery stores where we've seen the results of this in Soviet Russia. But this is what has caused people so much irritation and anger. The way this guy is eating his food with his hand. Now, some people have come out and said, I don't understand what the big deal is. Why are people so upset? Why are people so angry? Why are people getting upset? You eat pizza with your hand. You eat a corn dog with your hand. You eat a candy bar with your, although personally, when I have a candy bar, I open the wrapper and I keep the wrapper on the candy bar as I'm eating it because I'm not an animal. You get that chocolate stuff on your fingers. That's just terrible. That'll get on anything, especially like a white dress shirt. Yeah, forget about it. That's the worst. So you eat a candy bar like a normal person with the wrapper on. I think that's just basic. Kit Kat and anything else, you just have the wrapper there and you eat it like a normal person. But this has got people going, I don't understand what the big deal is. On the other side, you got people saying pizza, corn dogs, all these things, like if you pick up, sushi with your hand and eat it or whatever, that these are more like finger foods. These are foods that, well, some of them may be greasy and saucy. They're not liquids. And so people are saying this is basically a declaration of anti-Western culture being immigrated over here. The reason why we have a fork and a spoon and a knife is because it's better than just eating with your hands like a primitive. That's the argument that's being made. And so something this mundane has caused this sort of division, and it is the worst thing for the Democrats. And I'll explain, because as insignificant as this is, it is significant in the optics and the message that it sends, because to ordinary people who aren't mentally ill, far left regressives in New York City, the type of people that would be brain dead enough to vote for AOC, this is going to absolutely kill the Democrats in the primaries. In the primaries in, other states. This is going to absolutely cripple the Democrats in the midterms. And I think this is going to help, believe it or not, J.D. Vance. I think it's going to help him run for president. Because this imagery, it's very easy to draw a parallel. J.D. Vance sitting down eating his food with a fork would be all you need to do. Because what you want to do is you want to create the perception that you are the diametrically opposed candidate to whatever this is. So J.D. Vance, all he has to do is come out and say, yeah, I'm not in favor of, Soviet-style bread lines. I'm not in favor of taxing people on the basis of their race, like Mamdani, Madman Mamdani. Trump could come out and go, this guy Mamdani, he's a madman, Madman Mamdani. He eats with his hand. We evolved past that hundreds of years ago, but this guy, he didn't get the message. They call him progressive, but he is regressive. I'm going to coin that term, regressive. It's a statement. And because it's a statement, it's obviously a statement. This guy could get a fork. He's in New York City. He's making this as a deliberate choice and having himself filmed doing this because he wants to send the message that I am anti-Western. I'm anti-capitalist, which is ironic considering all the countries that this guy would glaze are capitalist in nature. They're all capitalist. But they're capitalist with the right spin for this guy. They're not America. They're not the West. That's what this guy likes. He hates the West, hates America, and hates you for being a proud American. It's obvious based on the way this guy talks and the way that he refers to America that there is no pride in this country, and which is why I believe that in order to hold public office, you should have to be somebody who was born here. Not just for the president, I think for every political office. I think that the founding fathers made a mistake when they didn't put that into the Constitution and didn't put that into every bill, every charter, and every mechanism of power, that you have to be born here. You can't immigrate here and become a politician. Now, some people will say, yeah, but some Republicans are Democrats. The fact is that if you weren't born here, you shouldn't be in charge of the government here. It's as simple as that. It's not a race thing. It's a culture thing. And do you know who agrees with that more than anyone? The black community. Because you may have heard Denzel Washington talk about, well, you could get Martin Scorsese to, direct a movie like Fences or Roots or anything like that because he's a great director, but he's not going to know all the different subtleties and nuances. And I think that he talked about what like a hot comb going through your hair is like or something like that. He's not going to know what that's like. So it makes it harder for him to connect with people. And there's an element of truth to that to some degree. I don't think very much, but to some degree. But it's also true of people who are either the children of first generation immigrants that don't really have any connection to this country at all, or people who were kids when they immigrated over here. And again, they come from somewhere else and they view that as their home. And this is just where they live, and so they want to turn here into there, and the consequences are dire and disastrous. Take a look at London. We do not want London in New York City. But anyway, this has caused a real commotion, and it's going to be a weapon that is used because every tool that Republicans can use to basically make the case that these people who are Democrat, they hate the West, they hate the way you live, they hate the idea that you could live a fulfilling, free, happy life. They want to take away from you. They want to turn this into a communist country with anti-Western principles, and they're willing to do anything to do it. And this guy can't even use a fork like an everyday American. That's going to be the messaging, and whether you agree with that or not, in the realm of politics, that's going to be effective because it's going to be able to create an us versus them mentality. Now, this guy has basically done 90% of the work himself by basically establishing himself as a deranged, crazy, anti-American, anti-capitalist, anti-business. Not just anti-capitalist, anti-business. This guy wants to open up government competition to local grocery stores that have an infinitesimal fraction of a margin of error. When it comes to their prices, you've got like less than 2% markup in a lot of cases. They're not making bank on this. Oh, these business owners, these people who run the local deli, they're making all this money. No, you open up a place like this and you have the government's money behind it. You are taking money from taxpayers to basically help put them out of business so that they have to rely on the government. And the result of that is going to be chaos. And this guy knows it because he knows he's never going to have to live with the consequences of what he proposes to do. He knows that no matter what, no matter how much of a shithole New York becomes, he is never going to have to eat with the poors. He's always going to be well fed. He's always going to be well taken care of. And he knows that. And so for the rest of you people, you're going to vote this in because you think that it feels good. But unfortunately, sort of like walking into a mousetrap. You're like, oh, there's a little bit of peanut butter. Oh, there's a little bit of cheese. Snap. And that's your city. That's your finances. That's your country going down in flames. Some people would celebrate that, but I hate to tell you, what waits on the other side is going to be so much worse you can't even imagine it. You can't even imagine how much worse it gets. If you live in America, you live in one of the greatest countries on earth, and it's not even close. And we want to preserve that. We want to protect that, which is why we do our best to make sure that American culture is predominant and not any one other culture. America is a nation that was founded on Christian ethics, not Judeo-Christian ethics, not Muslim Christian ethics, Christian ethics, which are distinct and unique and different and better. Yes, I said better. The results speak for themselves. Do you want to live in Israel? I don't. Do you want to live in Saudi Arabia? Now Saudi Arabia might be nice. Israel, Tel Aviv might be nice. But do you really want to live there? No. You want to live here. Because we are one of the few remaining Christian nations where you have people in the country that are unapologetically Christian, aren't persecuted for being Christian. Well, to the extent of some of the others. Like in some places you can get killed for being a Christian still, which is insane to me. But anyway, yeah, this is one thing that further helps to establish that the Democrats are not the party of the working man. They're not the party of, yesteryear's Democrat. They're a new Democrat party of anti-American foreigners and people that despise this country and the way that it's run, and they despise you and your very existence. This guy comes out and says that there shouldn't be billionaires. That under his regime, he would take all the money away from billionaires and give it to people he deems is worth giving. So this guy believes in theft. He wants to steal from people that have worked hard to get a bunch of money. People that have built for themselves and their family, he wants to steal from them. Now, don't get me wrong. There are always going to be corrupt people. This guy's corrupt. The Democrat Party itself is corrupt. Look what they did to Bernie Sanders. I think Bernie Sanders is a pathetic joke, and I think that supporting him is a stunning indictment. It's an IQ test, and if you support him, you fail. But at the very least, Bernie Sanders was screwed out. He ran for president and basically cucked himself for money, supported Hillary Clinton in 2016, took the money, bought a couple houses, bought a couple boats, and then, fell in line with the Democrat Party. But if this is your future is bleak, Democrats. I'm just telling you. I can't believe I'm saying this, but your options right now for leaders are so bad, you would have done better with Chris Cuomo. That's crazy, but it's true. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, a topic like this, you look at it and you go, this is ridiculous. This is nothing. This is nothing. Why'd you make a video on this? Because I think it's important. I think it's significant. I think that it actually does send a message. And I think that the message is going to be capitalized on, and it's going to be very easy. Because normal Americans look at this and they're like, that's fucking gross. Because it's obviously different. He's eating rice and curry with his hands. That's something that you would eat in India as street food because they are too poor to be able to give you a fork. But he lives in this luxury, this luxury state, this luxury city. He absolutely could get a fork, and he's doing this as a publicity stunt. He's eating with his hand to demonstrate, I'm not like other Americans. I'm different, which is bad. It's bad because if you're in politics, you're trying to basically represent your party the best you can. And if this is what your party is, that you're eating curry and rice with your hand, people are going to look at that and go, that's disgusting. That's barbaric. And if you say, well, but you eat pizza, you eat other stuff. Well, that's an American tradition. To eat pizza with your hand is an American tradition. To eat a hot dog with your hand is an American tradition. This is a tradition in India, which is foreign to here. So people look at this and they make that sort of judgment, and you have people in love saying, well, you shouldn't do that. But it is. It represents a foreign influence that's trying to come over here and supersede what currently is. And it's not just this one thing. It is a history over the past 15, 20 years of this endless onslaught against American culture, Americans, sovereignty, your rights, what you own. It is a continued onslaught, and people have had enough. And so this type of stuff, as insignificant as you think it is, actually does matter. And this stuff radicalizes people. Asmongold was talking about it earlier. Not this in and of itself, but a bunch of stuff where politicians are now, eating with their hands in this disgusting manner. It is gross. It is weird. And why are we watching this? Why are we watching this guy eat? Why are we watching him eat like a freak like a barbarian with his hands? By the way, that's the language that they use, the people who are opposed to this. So I'm trying to explain it to you from their point of view so that you get it, so that you understand it. That's the way they're looking at this. And that's a wide number of Americans. That's a lot of Americans who look at this as something foreign, and they don't like it because they associate this with what's going on overseas, with the influx of Muslim immigrants and migrants who have done unspeakable things in Europe. People remember the stories of the UK Muslim rape gangs, and that the police there covered it up, that hundreds, or dozens, if not hundreds, of innocent girls were subjected to this brutality and barbarism because the police there didn't want to be called racist. That's not going to continue. That's not going to be allowed. And this sort of stuff is going to be further a red flag that irritates and alienates people and gets them to be opposed to what you're doing because you decided that you're just going to film yourself eating to make a political statement. Does that make sense? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank you for supporting the channel, letting me speak my mind, letting me say my piece. Whether you would agree or disagree, let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. See you next time.